All right, so let me give you case studies here again, success and failure. I've been kind of picking on other people's failures and other people's mistakes a little bit, so I'm going to pick on myself now. You know, again, it's discipline. We got to have discipline. And I'm not perfect either. I make mistakes, and here's an example of having made a mistake. 2007, we hired a company to rebuild our website. And we used a marketing firm to help us do this. And I trusted the marketing firm to pick out the company that we were going to use to rebuild our website, assuming that they would do careful reference checking and skills checking and so forth. Because I was busy. We use that rationalization, don't we? I'm too busy. Right? I know you've heard it. Oh yeah, I know, I'm supposed to unit test the code, but I'm too busy. The testers will find the problems later in system test anyway. And I mean, if I had 10 euros for every time I've heard that rationalization and criticized it, I'd have a lot of money. So you'd think I would know better than to make that mistake myself, but no, I did. I said, I'm too busy to check out this firm. I'm sure the marketing people have checked them out. I'm sure they'll be fine. Nope, it was not fine. Simple website. We don't have a complicated website for our company. It's a fairly simple website, but it took over 4 months to finish the development. Most of that time was bug fixing and testing. And after development, we had tons of quality problems. And worse, we had lock-in with this company because they use proprietary technology. Again, this is discipline, and the problem is that we get lazy. We try to take shortcuts, and there aren't any. And I've seen that with my clients, and this time I got to learn the lesson firsthand by making the same mistake myself. Okay, so 2 years later, we had reached the boiling point with this whole website situation. So we hired another company, a company called Stevens & Stevens, which does the work for the American Software Testing Qualification Board's website. And I knew that they were good. And we basically had the same requirements, the same development and test process, but so everything's the same. The team is different. The development team is different. Now, I wouldn't say that this went perfectly, that there weren't any bugs, there weren't any problems, but it was a lot better. And the website is still a lot better, and we continue to use these folks. Okay. The only difference between the development work of the website that we did in 2007 and the development work in 2009, 3 people. 3 people with the skills. The second time, 3 people without the skills, first time. Okay, and that was the difference. That was skills. So, got to use the right people. Now, turnover is something to watch out for. Okay, when you're managing skills, you got to watch out for turnover because now you got new people coming in, and you've got both known and unknown skills gaps. So keep your people. Tom DeMarco, in one of his books, said he made an interesting point that you see companies that lay off their staff, and a lot of times their stock price goes up. People say, stock traders say, this company's making tough decisions and they're managing carefully. And DeMarco said, no, they shouldn't actually be rewarded for that. They should pay a price for that because think of, when you do a layoff, think of all the intellectual capital that's walking out the door. And you lose a lot of money that was invested in ramping people up. So turnover is a problem. Turnover is it's a cost issue, but it's also a quality issue. Don't make outsourcing decisions without being careful, without assessing the people. And that was the big mistake that I made, to be avoided. Okay, so manage change. I picked this as the last one. This to some extent is topical. A change is going to happen, right? We are going to have change, but it doesn't mean that because we're going to have change, we should just totally abandon the concept of managing change. I mean, there's smart change and there's stupid change. And there's change properly managed and there's change not properly managed. And you see the difference. Organizations making smart choices versus organizations that just thrash around. Oh, here's a new feature. Let's put the new feature in. Maybe we should think about what the implications of that are. So you got to understand what's the impact. What are the implications of the change? You have to remember every change has costs and risks as well as opportunities and benefits. It's all too easy for people to fixate on the opportunities and benefits. Okay? But let's also remember we need to think about costs and risks. Okay, so we saw this happen on one project during the user acceptance test. The users were told, anything you don't like, report it as a bug, we'll fix it. No documented requirements. The original plan, UAT, was supposed to be 6 weeks. Users reported over 800 bugs during the user acceptance test. 800 bugs. That's not good. We're not talking about a particularly large project here. 800 bugs. And most of these were not actually bugs. They were just change requests. They were just, you said, anything I don't like, report it as a bug. Okay, here you go. 800 things I don't like. So UAT stretched out to 12 weeks. So there we've got a 100% schedule overrun on UAT. 100%. That's not good. And project failed. So, change management, major cause of that failure. So, we know how to do this. Again, this is another discipline issue. So, system testing on another project that we worked on for a client, cross-functional team doing triage of bugs and evaluation of proposed changes. Cross-functional team looking at the proposed changes, assessing risks, costs, opportunities, and benefits, having a discussion, mature discussion about, okay, why should we do this? Why shouldn't we do this? Let's throw it in the balance pans and see what makes sense. Let's allow more change earlier during testing because we can deal with the risk, but less at the end because the risks go up. Right? The risks associated with the change are not the same throughout the life cycle, are they? Risks are going to go up as we get closer to release date. Let's recognize that. So on this project, we had mature decisions being made, and the project was a success. Okay, so I've offered 6 things that I would suggest you look at. Look at those 6 lessons. How well, how poorly do you do those things? Do you have the right people? Do you manage change? Do you have good requirements? Are there common mistakes that you're making? A lot of the stuff that I described, the mistakes were pretty straightforward, weren't they? Well, I wasn't talking about things where you had to have 17 different things go wrong before the thing resulted in project failure. These are pretty straightforward 1, 2 factor kinds of things. So look at it. Are you making these mistakes? Are some of the tips for success that I've mentioned? Because you apply some of those. On the first slide, why should we care? I hope that you could all relate to that. This does matter. Do we know how to deal with this? Do we know how to do better? Yes, we do. Those 6 things that I talked about, these are not secrets. These are not things that nobody's ever heard of before, right? These are things that we know. We just need to do it. So figure out where you are. assess, and then be disciplined. Make the changes that you need to make. You can build better software. We can all build better software. We should start to hold ourselves as an industry to the expectation that we must build better software because it's becoming more and more critical every day. Just as a society, as a global economy, we can't afford to go through the next 40 years with the kind of lousy software that we put up with for the first 50 years or so